hey everybody, gotcha. I scared you with my bonely hands because it's welcome to spooky. I'm not really a skeleton. This is actually me, Joe, but I'm wearing a glove. Secretly, there's another skeleton underneath. I actually get to do my very own real welcome too. So, in the spirit of the season, I'm doing it about horror movies, horror games, horror houses. If Newgrounds horror flash games have taught me anything, it's that jump scares are the scariest kind of scares. So I decided that the absolute scariest monster that we could use in our hypothetical examples today is a bunny rabbit. First one is the slasher movie. So you got your slasher. These are usually catch-up horror movies, so let's put a little catch-up on them. In a slasher movie, there's 5 types of characters. The first one is the protagonist. The second type of character is the jock. He's built and beat me up in high school. Most screenwriters were also beat up in high school, and they use movies like this to sort of even the odds with them and the jock by vicariously murdering them. The third type of character is the other girl, who's usually on the more frisky side. She'll probably die after having sex in a bathroom. The fourth type of character is the comic relief. The fifth type of character is the minority. Alright, so usually it goes like, the first jock walks in and he's like, hey babe, let's go into my Winnebago and have some fun times. She's like, you mean like Jenga? He's like, yeah. Wait, no. The bunny man has secretly been hiding in the back seat, patiently waiting because he thought it was a taxi, but it wasn't. And he's a little frustrated because his taxi's not going anywhere, and now he's late for his appointment. So let's say he gets stabbed through the heart. Let's say she gets beheaded. This guy's probably dead too. The comic relief character's probably gonna be the only one left. I'm just gonna be like, hey guys, I'm gonna go get my beagle puss out of my Winnebago. And then the rabbit man will probably shoot him through the head with an arrow and then put one of those comedy arrow headbands around it so it looks like he's alive, but he's not. And so at this point, these two are in the final area. So say she shoots him 45 times in the chest. I'm glad that's over. And she'll shed a tear for her fallen friends. And it's at this point that the dead guy rises up because he goes, you know, now that I think about it, I never made that appointment. Oh no. Hey, what's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is styrofoam cups because they never degrade. So what if like a ghost was possessing a styrofoam cup? You would never be able to defeat him. What's your biggest fear? You know, when I was little, I had a bunk bed and a sister, and then one of those things went away. So I was laying in my bunk bed alone on the bottom bunk, and I had this reoccurring fear that I'd open my eyes and a man with a big old grin would look down at me. How do you get there? Why is he smiling? What do you know, man? I'm drawing the scariest thing in any horror movie. A harmless branch. If you're gonna run anywhere, you're gonna fall over. This thing's a death trap. Cars also never work. Another thing you gotta watch out for in horror movies is the skeptical significant other. She's like, hey honey, I saw a pot move and no one was there. He's like, must have been the wind. Honey, no, you don't understand. One of the horses in our barn was eaten and there was a note in blood that said, I am the chupacabra and I ate your horse. Ha, 'tis but a prank, a harmless weather balloon gone astray. Honey, the ghost is literally right in front of you. You're playing a fun game of backgammon with him. No, I still don't believe you. Clearly we have a healthy relationship. You should divorce me. And that's when the ghost kills him, and he appears and says, I've been waiting for those words. I got you a box of enchanted chocolate. Oh, ghost. Yeah, I know, I hadn't realized it until now, but you've been the only one who's been there for me. Why was I with this man who didn't believe me when I said I was in trouble? You know who was there every time you said you were in trouble? Me. And they'll realize and they'll both blush. And their eyes will meet across the room and they'll walk over to each other and embrace. And she'll say, what are we doing? And he'll say, exactly what we've wanted to do, and then they'll just make out and fall to the floor, and then the camera pans up to the window outside for a discretion shot where you hear their ghostly boos and moans of pleasure. And it cuts to the husband whose head has been decapitated, and he looks at the camera and goes, "Well, I guess that's just life." And then there's a laugh track, and it cuts to credits, and I'm the writer, and I'm famous. Hey, what are you most afraid of? I'm afraid that one day I'm gonna wake up in the past. I'm gonna have to redo everything I've done in the last 6 years. Do you know how hard it was to get this janitorial position at Chuck E. Cheese? I don't think I can store this again. What's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is commitment. Another form of cinematography that's recently become very popular is found footage, and they have to shake the camera a lot because nothing's scarier than bad cinematography. Sorry, I think I heard a noise. I'm really afraid. Oh, you got. Oh no! I think I saw it. And don't forget everyone's favorite subgenre, Christmas horror, with such classics as Black Christmas and The Grinch. So in these movies, it's usually like, Santa Claus eats children, or oh, my Christmas tree's a monster, oh, my dad never shows up on Christmas even when he says he will. What's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is that one day I'll wake up on a TV show and I'll be inside of like a Muppety mascot costume, and I'll play along with it because we're already filming and I don't want to ruin it. And then I realize people like the Muppet me more than the real me, and I'll just decide to live the lie. What's the worst nightmare you ever had? This one time, I had a nightmare that I lived in a bayou, and I saw outside the window something purple flash by, and then I realized it was a giant 6-foot-tall naked Count Von Count from Sesame Street. He didn't have any genitals or anything, but he was naked. A lot of my fears are Muppet-based, I'm realizing. Unlike movies where you watch things and slowly understand why things are being spooky, horror games are different. The best way to convey the plot and secrets in a horror game to your audience is through use of nothing but long pieces of text and diaries found all around the mansion or castle or graveyard. Here, I'll give you an example. May 1987. The 40th of spring. Dear diary, I had that dream again where my daughter is a goblin. I think that mad scientist I hired to be my gardener is doing strange experiments in the family graveyard. I've heard weird noises at night in this location, but I haven't gone to check it out. Oh well. May 1984. More noises from the graveyard. Luckily, I'm a dope and haven't gone to check it out yet, so I sent my husband. He's gone. Dear diary, May 1942. Today, I've heard nothing but scratches, so I went out there, and it turns out the mad scientist was a zombie, and now so am I. Also, I have a crush on the neighbor boy, even though I'm married. Scandalous. The real horror is the chains of marriage. So horror games are mostly reading. Strangely, horror literature is actually very little reading. The trick to writing good horror literature is not telling anybody why it's scary, and they just have to assume it is. You just vaguely imply something like, there's a noise in the basement, and they mention it every chapter, and there'll be like a reoccurring motif, like a tentacle or a bucket or a moan that sounds like my mom. And then the last chapter will be something along the lines of, it was time I went into the basement. And maybe there was nothing in the basement, but you don't know. You just gotta assume there was. The trick to being scary is to leave everything to the imagination. That's why the best horror movie ever, which I'm currently directing, is going to be nothing but a black screen for 3 hours and 1 sound effect. Hey, what's your biggest fear? I used to be really afraid of people sneezing in movies. It made me feel funny, and then later I realized it was just a fetish. What's your biggest fear? My biggest fear is disappointing everyone I've ever loved. No good horror movie is complete without a twist ending. Some of my favorites are the detective was the murderer, a dead guy was the murderer, or my personal favorite, they were a ghost all along. I actually have something to tell you guys. I've actually been dead for 40 years! I'm a bone man, and I wanted to make this video so bad it kept me from dying. And now I can finally move on. Actually, I should probably clean this up before I go. I see you, everybody. What's your biggest fear? There's an episode of Magic School Bus where they go into a haunted house and there's a noise that keeps coming up from the basement that they're trying to find. And it goes, and that noise kind of scared me a lot. And I got down to the basement and it's just like a piano. It's like, what piano sounds like that? How are you supposed to teach children?